The promise that lit the road. With the call came a promise, bright as a star before dawn. Abram was told that he would become a great nation, that blessing would flow through him like a river, and that his name would be carried far beyond the valleys he knew. Those who honored him would be honored, those who opposed him would find themselves contending with something greater. And, like a seed holding a forest within, the promise stretched to all families of the earth. Abram stood at the threshold of decision. Maps could not help him. Certainty was not offered. Only trust. The promise that lit the road. With the call came a promise, bright as a star before dawn. Abram was told that he would become a great nation, that blessing would flow through him like a river, and that his name would be carried far beyond the valleys he knew. Those who honored him would be honored, those who opposed him would find themselves contending with something greater. And, like a seed holding a forest within, the promise stretched to all families of the earth. Abram stood at the threshold of decision. Maps could not help him. Certainty was not offered. Only trust. Setting out into the unknown. So Abram went. He gathered his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, their possessions, and the people who depended on him. The road unfurled beneath their feet like a story being written step by step. They crossed into Canaan, a land of hills and oaks, where the air smelled of resin and earth. At Shechem, by the oak of Moreh, the voice returned. The promise found a place. This land would belong to Abram's descendants. Moved by awe, Abram built an altar. Stones stacked upon stones, a quiet answer to a speaking God. From there he journeyed on, pitching his tent between Bethel and Ai. Again an altar rose, and Abram called on the name of the one who had called him first. When hunger tests faith. But the story did not stay gentle. A famine swept the land, drying fields and thinning hope. The promise did not erase hunger, it asked Abram to walk through it. So he went down to Egypt, where the Nile still fed green banks. Fear traveled with him. Sarai was beautiful, and Abram worried that her beauty might cost him his life. In a moment of frailty, he asked Sarai to say she was his sister. The plan worked too well. She was taken into Pharaoh's house, and Abram prospered, sheep and oxen, servants and camels, yet his heart was restless. Prosperity without peace is a thin meal. A king confronted, a woman protected. Then the unseen hand moved. Plagues troubled Pharaoh's house, and the truth surfaced like a stone rising from water. Pharaoh summoned Abram, his voice sharp with accusation. Why had Abram not spoken plainly? Why had danger been brought into the palace? Pharaoh returned Sarai untouched and ordered Abram to leave Egypt, escorted by his own men. Thus Abram departed with his wife, his goods, and a lesson etched deeper than any scar. Back to the altars. The road bent north again, back to the places where Abram had first called on God. He returned to Bethel, to the altar between Bethel and Ai. There, amid familiar stones, Abram called once more on the name of the Lord. The promise still stood. The journey continued. Explanation and lessons. Genesis 12 tells the story of a beginning, not of the world, but of a calling that would shape history. God's word interrupts Abram's ordinary life and invites him into trust without full sight. The promise is expansive and generous, yet the path is not free from hardship. Abram responds with obedience, builds altars to mark moments of encounter, and learns that faith is lived on the road, not in certainty. The chapter also shows human weakness alongside divine faithfulness. Abram's fear in Egypt leads him to compromise, yet Sarai is protected and the promise is not undone. God's purposes move forward even when people stumble. From this story we learn that faith often begins with leaving, letting go of what is familiar to follow a call that cannot be fully explained. Blessing is not merely for personal gain but is meant to flow outward to others. We learn that trust is tested by scarcity and fear, and that returning to places of prayer and remembrance can restore perspective. Above all, Genesis 12 teaches that a faithful God works patiently with imperfect people, shaping a future that reaches far beyond a single lifetime.